Hi, welcome back to the Kiddo's YouTube channel. Today we're going to set up Wi-Fi Certificate Authentication using Intune and cloud services only. So we're going to use for our Certificate Authority, we're going to use EasyCA. For our MDM, we're going to use Intune. And then for our Radius service, we're going to use EasyRadius. All of these can be easily provisioned in Azure. So let's get started. So first, let's understand how it's going to work. Intune is going to make your clients go to EasyCA, request a certificate using SCEP. Then we're going to set up our Radius service to accept those certificates, and we can even check with Entra ID if that person is part of a group, if it's enabled, or even with Microsoft Intune, if we're doing device certificates, we can make it to check that the device is compliant. All of this sends all the information to Sentinel so we can have a holistic view of our infrastructure security. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to add the Kiddo's applications into our tenant. And then after that, we're going to create our EasyCA CA and our EasyRadius Radius service. Then we're going to set everything up in Intune. And for the Wi-Fi authentication, we're just going to use our Ubiquity. But if you have other networking devices, check out the rest of the videos in our YouTube channel. We probably have a way to set it up. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our docs page. So Kiddo's documentation, and it's going to be linked down below. And then we're going to go to EasyRadius, and we're going to click on register the EasyRadius in your tenant. So in here, we're adding the two Kiddo's applications to give enough permission for Kiddo's to read your tenant and so on. So first, we're going to do the Kiddo's application. We're going to click it. We're going to log in with a global administrator, and we're going to click accept. And then we're going to do the exact same process for the EasyRadius one. And I'm just going to skip it because I've done it before. And then in here, we're also going to go and do it for the Intune profile because we have another Intune application, and this allows Kiddo's to automatically go to your Intune and ensure that the certificates are being requested by Intune. So we're going to go here and do the same. But as I said, I already did it. So let's make this video a little bit quicker. So once we have done that, we can go here and we are going to create our EasyCA CA. And we can just find it here. And this is not creating any resources or anything on your side. This is just like a way to bill through Azure. So basically it comes in your Azure bill as if it was a VM or if it was anything else. You pay through Microsoft, but there's also directly in the portal if needed. Here you select your plan. I'm selecting the internal test plan, but I would probably recommend the basic. Basic covers most of people's needs unless you have some compliance needs or you have a huge deployment, like I'm talking like 20, 30,000 devices. So here you're just going to select your subscription, resource group, and name it Azure CA or something. And then we'll do next, review and subscribe. And then this will push you to the EasyCA page, and then you'll click create and you'll create your subscription. But as I said, I already have one, so I'm not going to do that. And then we would do the same with EasyRadius. So we would find it here. All right, so we're going to click subscribe. And as I said, this is not creating any resources in the tenant. It's just creating a billing subscription. So here we're going to click configure account. And as you can see, this sends us to the EasyCA portal. And in here we can add more people. So if we have like a Entra ID group or something we want to add, we can add them here. And then we'll just do purchase plan. And this is just going to complete the purchase in Azure. Now we can create our first CA. In this case, to keep it simple, I'm just going to do a root CA. But if you want to learn more about having a multi-tier PKI infrastructure, you can go into our documentation, create SCEP CA, and in here we explain what's the difference between only having a root issuing CA versus having multiple ones. But in here, let's just keep it simple. I'm just going to go here, click root, and let's call it Wi-Fi CA. We're going to click next. We're going to do RSA. We're going to send the emails to everybody that is a PKI administrator, but if you want to add a distribution list, you add it here. If you require OCSP, click it here, but in this case, we don't really require it because we're going to be validating that the user is still valid straight into Entra, so revocation through CRLs is fine. And then in here, we are going to change this to SCEP, and by default, it enables Intune, but we also want to enable self-service. This is going to help us test the Wi-Fi authentication later easier. And then we want to set the certificate period to a year. We don't want it to be that long. So we're going to set it up to a year. Other than that, in advanced settings, you could change this to have different extended key usages. You could add custom key usages if needed, but we're just going to leave that as default. We're going to click next, and we're going to create a CA. And as simple as that, we're creating a CA. It has an HSM, it has everything, and we're good to go. So we're going to download that certificate. We're going to keep it. And we're going to save it as, and keep it here. And we have created our CA. So if we go back here, we have created our CA. Next, we have to create our radio service. So we're going to go back to Azure, create resource, and we're going to do easy radius, and we're going to create it. So we can name our subscription. We're going to select where we want it, and then we're going to subscribe. We're going to click configure account. And here we're going to select our location. I'm going to do US. And also if you see if you need another location because you might be full, like Europe might be full or something, you can just email us at sales@kitos.io and we can enable a new location very quickly. So we're just going to do create instance. And now it sends us to our URL, and it tells us to bookmark it because, so yeah, you can go through the Azure portal every time and access it, or you can just bookmark portal.easyca.io and then whatever your instance is, .radius.io. So in here, we're going to go and we're going to set up our policies. And in here, you're going to see a lot that I have already set up. So I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom and create a new one. And we're going to call it whatever we want to call it, like Wi-Fi policy. In here, we're going to enter the IP addresses of our networking devices, enter all of them that are going to be talking to into the radio service. And in here, it's a shared secret. By default, we create a random large shared secret, but you can change this to something shorter. And then we're going to add the accepted certificate authorities. So these are the certificate authorities that we're going to trust. So any certificates issued by these authorities are going to be trusted. So in here, we're going to look for the Wi-Fi CA we created, and we're going to add it. If you would have more CAs, you can do that. And if you already have and for example, if you're chaining up to your local CA, you can also change this here to a local CA, check if it's root or not root, and upload the certificate. But if you're using EasyCA, you saw how easy it is to just add one. Then we have to create the server certificate. So for server certificate, this is just used for your clients to validate the server. We can use the CA that we already created. But if you are not using a CA, you can we have an integrated auto-generated certificate that you can use. So in here, we're going to go again and say Wi-Fi certificate, and we're going to click request certificate. And Easy Radius is going to take care of automatically rotating that certificate and everything. So it's kind of set and forget. All of these is kind of like everything is just, you don't have to patch anything. You don't have to do anything. Once it's set up, you don't have to touch it again. And then we can set up access policies. And this is where we talked about that we can do. So if we go back here to the diagram, where Easy Radius can actually validate with Entra ID, like, is this person group, member of this group? Is this device healthy? And so on. So we're just going to create 2 policies here, and you can have a catch-all at the end that sends it to a different VLAN. So in here, I always like, the easiest way to think about this is students and teachers at a school. So you're going to have students, and I want to match it to an Entra ID object. And we're going to say that it is on the subject alternate name email. And we'll remember this when we're setting up our Intune profile. And you can even say like, hey, make sure that it's part of this group, which is our students group. And you can assign it to a static VLAN. And let's say that this VLAN name is students. In this case, we're just going to do not assign. And we're going to add the policy. And we can create another policy that, in this case, I'm just going to do teachers. But I'm going to make it based on Entra ID objects. And I'm going to do device just to show how we can validate that device is with Azure. So we're going to say that the device is in the subject name, and that the device identifier is the Intune device ID. And what this allows us is to actually check compliance. Like, hey, is this device compliant with Intune? If it's not going to accept it into network. And you could assign it to a specific VLAN, and you can also do group membership. So we're going to add it. And one of the cool things is you can arrange them in order. So first check if it's a student, then a teacher, and then you can have a catch-all that sends it to a different VLAN. We also enable password authentication if needed for like devices that don't have certificates. So yeah, after all that, we just have to click create policy, and this is going to create our policy. And now we can go and create. So if we go back here, we can see we have created the radius, we have created the CA. Last thing we have to do is the Intune configurations. So we're going to go to aka.ms/Intune. And in here, I'm just going to create the Windows ones, but after that, you just kind of create the same ones for everybody else. So in here, the first policy we have to create is a trusted certificate, and we're gonna say Wi-Fi root cert. And if you had a multi-chain thing, you would have to do it for all your certificates. And here we're gonna select the Wi-Fi certificate that we just created, and we're gonna put in this computer certificate root store. And then we're gonna add it to all users and all devices. And then we're gonna create it. So then after that, we have to create the SCEP policy. And in here, we're just going to create the student one, but I'm going to talk about how you would do the device one as well. So you would do SCEP, we're going to click create, and then we're going to say students SCEP. And this is this one does is it distributes all the certificates to the devices. So the whole idea of this is everything is going to be automated. Users don't even have to think. They just open their laptop and magically they come in. So we had said, if we go back to the radius page, we had said that the subject alternate name with email is going to have the user UPN. So what we're going to do here is we can leave the subject name as is. We can even change that to Wi-Fi email or something like that. Then in here we do email address, and then we're going to do the user principal name here. And then we're going to select the validity period. So the validity period is actually set up by EasyCA. So as you saw, we set it up to a year. So we're going to leave it for a year here. And then we're going to do enroll to TPM, otherwise software. And then here we're going to say we want the key usage to be digital signature, and we want the keys to be 2K. The reason we don't select 4K is it's not supported for TPM. And then hashing algorithm SHA-2. Then we have to say that our root certificate is the issuing CA that we did. If you're doing a 2-tier, this is actually the issuing certificate, not the root certificate. Intune and names are not great. And then extended key usages, we're going to select client authentication, and then the SCEP URL template. So we have to go back to our EasyCA. We're going to click Certificate Authorities and Wi-Fi Certificate. We're going to do View Requirements. And we're going to copy the Intune SCEP URL. And if you're using Jamf or something like that, you can enable SCEP Static Challenge and use those URLs for Jamf and all the other MDMs. So then we're going to click Next. We're going to add all users, all devices. And then we're going to do Next, Review, Create. So now we have created the policy to get the certificates. So kind of like step one over here. So we're going to get the certificates. And now we have to tell the device that when it sees the Wi-Fi network, it will automatically connect. And so for the next setup, we have to go here, create a new policy. We're going to select Windows, Templates, and we're going to do Wi-Fi. So we're going to call it School Wi-Fi. We're going to click Next, and we're going to do Enterprise. We're going to do the SSID. Let's say that we're going to call it Kiddos Test Video. We're going to copy the same name. Do you want to connect automatically with name range? We're going to say yes. And then we're going to, in here you can select the authentication mode. So since it's the student one that I said we're setting up, we're going to do user. And then here we have to select the EAP type, and we're doing EAP-TLS. That means we're doing certificates. So server trust, you could add the subject name here so it automatically trusts it, and then you can add the root certificate saying like, hey, this is the root certificate that is going to issue the certificates, and the subject name for this certificate, it's whatever the policy name is. But in here, I'm just going to leave it empty. It's not required. Then authentication method, we're going to say SCEP certificate, and then we can select the profile of the certificate. So we're even telling the computer, hey, use the certificate that you issued through student SCEP. So the user doesn't have to select anything or anything. In this video, to test it, we're going to actually do it manually. So it's not going to be, we're not actually going to use this profile. But once it pushes everything, it's just going to work automatically. So we're going to create that. And then, so then we're good to go. But if you want to test it before pushing all the certificates through Intune and everything, we can enable self-service here. And then we can say, we're going to enter the policy name, and we're going to say student Wi-Fi. And then subject name, it can be whatever because we're not using it. So CN student Wi-Fi. And then user principal name. And we're going to do here $. And we can come here to our documentation and see the options. And we can see that user principal name is the one we want. So we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it here. We're going to click add. We're going to say that the key usages, we're going to use the any and then digital signature. Then we want all users to be able to request this. You can limit it to a specific group if you want, like, hey, only students can request it. But in this case, we're just going to do everybody. We're just testing it real quick, and we're setting up the certificate lifetime to a year. So then we add the profile, and then we click save. So now we have saved it. So now to test it, it's as simple as going here, and we're going to create the student Wi-Fi certificate, test cert. We're going to create the certificate. And we're going to download the full PFX, and we're going to save it. So then after that, as I promised, we're going to do it with Unifi. So we're going to go to our Unifi service. And in here, we're going to go to settings. We're going to go to profiles. We're going to select radius. We're going to create a new radius profile, and we're going to say cloud radius. And then this, if you selected the assigned VLANs that you get it from the profile, you can select here. Then we have to go back to easy radius. And all the way at the top, we have the IP addresses. I recommend adding all three but in this case, the video is going too long, so I'm just going to add one. And then we're going to do the shared secret. So you would go back down here. You would copy the secret and you're going to paste it. We're going to click add. You can enable accounting. You would just do the same and on the default port, which is 1813, and then copy the IP address, copy the secret. Just going to leave it disabled. If you don't need it, it's fine. And then after that, you would go to Wi-Fi and select whatever Wi-Fi you want to use. And then you would scroll down here, select WPA 3 or 2 Enterprise. And then you select the radius profile cloud radius, and then you do apply changes. So now that we have set up our Wi-Fi, we have to install our certificate. So we're going to go here to the downloads, click the test cert. And we're going to install it in current user, click next. And the password, leave it empty, next, finish. And now we can go to our Wi-Fi. And I have already saved it, so I have to forget it, because if not, it's not going to ask me for the certificate. So now I'm going to go here, connect, and it's asking me username or password or certificate. I'm going to use certificate. I'm going to use this the certificate that we created, and then I'm going to click OK. Where I'm going to click connect. And as simple as that, we have created our whole infrastructure, created the Intune policies to do it automatically, and we have tested it manually. So this is kind of how you set up Wi-Fi authentication. And if you're having any problems debugging it, like the Wi-Fi is not connecting or anything, you can go to audit logs, click it, and it will tell you like, hey, this failed because of X, Y, and Z. So you can see like successful EAP, or it can be, it failed, anything like that. You can download the logs and view in more detail. So that's how you set up Wi-Fi authentication with Intune. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this tool as much as we do.